Today we're going to be learning some of the basics of flute. Now we're just going to begin with our head joint, and we're going to learn how to make a proper embouchure. So what that looks like is putting the lip plate, the long part, against the part of your mouth where your lips meet the skin of your chin. And you're going to line that up to where just a little bit of your lips are covering maybe a third of the hole. And to articulate, we are, fiddling around trying to get it right. To articulate, we're going to use the sound P, which is French for little, if you didn't know that. We're going to use P, and we're going to continue using air supported from our torso to sustain the sound. So we're going to shoot for something like this. If at first you sound a little weak and unsupported, you might sound something like. You want to really sustain that air coming from down here, and that might look like taking some really deep breaths, and really blowing across the room as much as you can. To practice, you may want to use your hand and tickle it from a little bit of a distance. See where it feels right. So once you've got that sound, we can assemble our flute. Now you're going to take the head joint and the body, and you are going to connect them where that dark silver part meets that part of the flute. And you're going to gently twist and push it in. Try and keep it going in one single direction as much as possible to preserve the flute. And you're going to want to line up where the keys meet the embouchure hole. So looking, and you may have to adjust a little bit finer than that. But once it looks about right, you can add the foot joint to this dark silver part right here. And you're going to line it up with these pinky keys. And you're going to want to line up this post right here with these pinky keys as opposed to these two posts next to one another. You may want to adjust a little bit more than that just based on your hands and what's comfortable for you. I recommend asking a teacher or someone who knows more about the flute what they think. So once you have your flute, you're going to rest the mouthpiece right where it was, with the lip plate being covered only about a third by your lip, where the skin of your lip meets your chin. And you may be wondering, Reese, where do I put my hands? Well, you can't just support it with your lip, right? So you have a couple options. Generally, you want to use your left index finger flesh right below the second knuckle to support the weight of the flute. Generally, right underneath this first key. That may vary for you based on age and size and all that. We'll go over finger placement in a moment. And generally, you do not want to support the flute with your right thumb, as tempting as it may be. It's just there for stabilizing purposes. Finger-wise, you're going to rest your left thumb on these back keys pretty much most of the time. We'll get into the difference between them in a moment, but for now it doesn't super matter. You're going to put your left index finger skipping the first key onto that second key, and your left index finger will also skip a key, so it'll go over here, and then your left index finger, is going to be its next door neighbor. Okay? And you can rest your left pinky on this button, though we will get into what that's for in a bit. So skip, neighbor. And then here on your right hand, it's going to be a similar case where you skip, but the next two are next door neighbors. So you're just skipping that first one. So there will be two keys in between your left ring and your pointer on your right hand. And then again, you're going to rest your right pinky on this topmost pinky key, and it's going to stay there for most of the keys that we press in, most of the notes that we play. So once you have that, that is generally your resting position. And we'll go into what the different notes are. Generally, for the first 2 octaves, they'll be just about the same with some slight alterations, excuse me. And when you're sitting or standing with the flute, you want to make sure that your feet are flat on the floor, and that if you're standing, you may want to stand a little bit of an angle with one foot forward a little bit more, and your feet slightly apart at about a 45-degree angle, probably. When you're resting, you're just going to want to keep your flute on your leg like that, or supported with both hands. And when you're playing, you want to keep it up here. Make sure that you and your body are soft and tall as much as possible. Don't hold tension in your back or anywhere really except for maybe your butt bones. Okay, you want full access to your torso. That's why we say that. Okay, so for C major scale, very basic scale, you are going to start by just holding down your left index button, or your left index key, excuse me, and your right pinky. I will tell you when to take your right pinky off, otherwise you're gonna keep it on for most of these notes. So, left index, that's C. To go down to B, you're going to add your left thumb key to the bottom thumb key. That's your B thumb key, and the other one, the top one, is your B flat thumb key. Right now we just want the B thumb key, so the bottom one. So you have left index, left thumb key, and then for A, you're going to drop your middle finger, and then your ring finger for G, and then your right index finger, that's for F. For E, you're going to drop your right middle finger, and then for D, you're going to lift your right pinky key and drop your right ring finger, excuse me. So far we have and then for that bottom C, you're going to drop your right pinky finger on the scroller at the bottom of these pinky keys. So you have your main pinky key, and then you're going to go down here to the scroller. And you may struggle, just like me, to get that sound out. It's a pretty tough one. It's the lowest note on the flute, and it takes a lot of practice. You're going to want to use a lot of warm, wide air to get that. Much warmer and wider and slower air than you would for the top C. So that's our C major scale. And going up, it's about the same, except for the C, or the D, over above the top C is going to be the same D, except you're going to vent using by taking off your index finger on your left hand. So from C with, and then the notes above are just about the same. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the non-C major notes. So that includes B flat, which if you play B natural, the way you did earlier with index, pointer, and right hand pinky, it's the exact same fingering, except you're going to move your thumb to that top thumb key, and that's your B flat thumb key. exact same fingering, it's just a different thumb key. There are two other ways to play that B flat. You can play B natural and then add this trill key right there. Or you can add your right index finger. There's different uses for each of them, but here is the 1-and-1 fingering. I recommend the standard one of left index and left thumb on the B flat key, and your pinky, of course. That's going to be the one that's most convenient in most cases. That's for B flat or A sharp. Next you have F sharp, which you're going to finger G for, and you are going to add your right hand ring finger. So it'll sound like that's for F sharp or G flat. Next you have C sharp, which there are two different ways to do. You can play D, as we learned, the low D, and add your right hand pinky to this spatula key right here, as opposed to that one or that one right here. That is how you'll get that low C sharp. Or for the higher ones, you can just put down your ring finger on the main pinky key, and that will, and nothing else, and that will get, or for that higher one. As C sharp or D flat. Next we're going to do G sharp, so you're going to do G again. Excuse me. And you're going to add that left hand pinky key that we talked about earlier. So this G sharp or A flat. Now keep in mind that I just overblew a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit later, and I'll mention it when I do. So that's for G sharp or A flat. And for the last one we have D sharp and E flat, which is D again, except you're going to, instead of taking away that main pinky key that we use, you're going to add it. So instead of, you're going to add, so if you're going down from E, you have, and it's the same as above, except make sure that you vent that left index finger for D and E sharp, or D and E flat, or D sharp, excuse me. So you'll, excuse me, I'm very dehydrated. Okay, so when you're changing octaves from the low to the high, you want to make sure that you're changing the type of air support that you're using and the way you're moving your air from your body into the flute. When you're doing higher notes, you want to be using faster, cooler air that's aimed a little bit upwards by accentuating your lower lip. You don't need to protrude your jaw at all, but your lower lip will change a little bit just to direct the air a little bit more. So instead of low D, or if I had low D and I wanted to do high D without venting, you would just change the speed and direction of your air. And that example, that overblowing, is me accessing the harmonics of that fundamental note D, which is what you heard me do earlier when I was changing octaves. That is useful for gaining flexibility on the flute and improving your tone. Harmonics are also how you reach the third octave, though it's a little bit complicated, because while you could hit, say, D above that high C sharp that I did earlier, which would sound something like, you know, you can get it, but it takes a little bit of work, and it's maybe not the most accessible right away. In order to do that, and you're using lots of fast cool air while you do that, and you're changing. Another reason why activating harmonics is so good is it helps you practice those things individually. But say I wanted to get high D in a fast scalar passage, the way you would do that is you would combine two of the harmonics, and this is for all of the third octave notes with maybe a few exceptions. You're combining two of the harmonics that D appears in. If you're curious about harmonic series, look up the harmonic series and the patterns that happen in flute, and that'll help you gauge about what fingerings you need to combine for a given high note. So in the case of D, the harmonics that include that D are D, of course, and A. So in order to get that high D, you're going to you're basically going to get the difference between those two in fingering it. So instead of you could hear it a little bit up there, you'll just do, and notice how much easier that came out and how much brighter and clearer that tone is. So next we're going to move on to articulation. Speaking of, cleaner, it's not going to be the most convenient to be going puh, puh, puh. There's an effect for that and a use, but generally when you're articulating on the flute, you want to use the tip of the top of your tongue and have it meet where your teeth and the roof of your mouth meet. That'll give you a cleaner sound, a clearer articulation, and give you the ability to be more flexible and articulate more in general. And if you want to go a step above that, you can double tongue. This is a little bit more of an advanced technique. Get your single tongue down first before you do this. But for double tonguing, you're just going to let your tongue go in a swinging motion. So you're getting two for the price of one, essentially. So you'll get something like, and that's a tucka, 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 tucka sound. Okay, that's the end of this first lesson on flute. Thank you so much. I hope you learned something.